Good space time, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast, your source for educational insights into the Web3 universe and your connection hub to discovering those that contribute to building the decentralized world. Today, we are joined by Oscar Garcia from StaRKe Solana Validator. We discuss handling emotions, the FTX crash, and what do users want. We touch upon background transactions, building products, and enjoying value. Finally, we talk about evolution in tech, actions versus evolution, and keeping going on. If you enjoy our podcast, please share this episode to your favorite social platform and help us spread Web3 values across the universe.
I believe is that there will be some point in the future that mainstream will be using crypto even they don't know it. Many users, they don't care, right? They just want to play a game, right?
Every tech ecosystem involves evolution. Probably we believe some things and then you realize that the actual market evolves into a different way. Creating and deploying a validator keep evolving, right? Because it's not just one action, it's an evolution.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast. I have with me Oscar today from the StaRKe Validator. Oscar, hi. How are you?
Very good. Happy to be here.
I am glad to have you on. Before we kick off and before I start asking you all types of questions about your validator and Web3, please feel free to introduce yourself in a way that you want me and the listeners to know about you. Tell us how you got to Web3 and maybe whatever it is you do, apart from what I didn't mention already in Web3. Feel free to expand.
Yeah, bro. Let me start a little bit from the beginning, right? So, I'm from Galicia, a small region in the northwest of Spain. So basically, it's a very good region where there is a very good food, not so good weather, and not so good career opportunities. So basically, I moved early in my life in the 20-something to Madrid. So basically, professionally, I grew up there. My career was around network engineering. So basically, it was basically what I was actually doing, right? And then I was working for a big pharma industry, right? So it's still network engineering, but big pharma industry. And later on in 2022, I moved to the US, right? So specifically in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I'm basically based on, right? So now is where is actually happening this around Web3 in my life, right? So this started quite recently, right? So I heard about people that basically started several years back. In my case, I started around 2022, 2023. Basically, there was an onboarding program from Solana Foundation in terms of basically being a validator, right? So I learned about it. It was as well an IT layer that I'm comfortable of, that is basically the infrastructure layer. So it was a little bit, okay, I know a little bit about what is this about. I got it well, right? And well, I joined it about the opportunity, right? And basically now I'm running a mainnet validator, right? At the beginning it was only testnet, and now, well, here I am.
So I have a lot of questions. So one question I want to ask you straight away. You said you started in 2022 roughly in Web3. This is an interesting point because not many people start in a bear market. Usually, projects start during the bull market. Usually, and 2022 is already the finish. The bull market was already done, and some people were feeling sad and upset, and it's a normal thing in crypto cycles not to work during the bear market. No, of course I'm joking. Everybody works, but like in a serious, how did it feel when you came into the market? Was it feeling depressed? Were you like, was all the vibe kind of like, I don't know, did you get that vibe that it was a bear market, or for you it didn't matter? You were focused on your things and that's it.
Yeah, I tend to not be very emotional about the things that you believe, right? So basically, I was trying to see the capabilities about crypto and the things that the value that it brings, right? So I would say that the market itself is something like collateral, right? But I was actually reading a lot about everything that was involved in the validator itself and Solana ecosystem, multi-chains, all the chains, right? I felt about it very impressed, right? So I really didn't care much about the VR market, right? But it's true that the mood in that moment was a little bit pessimistic, right? It was around the FTX, I would say, crash, right? So it was a very specific moment. It was not a very good moment for Solana either, right? So yeah, I can understand the question.
I guess it's I don't know about yourself, but when I kind of like do something, I think a lot of the influence is like the surroundings, and sometimes when everybody's like, man, nothing is gonna happen, crypto is gonna die, I can imagine that for somebody new coming in, it definitely doesn't help, but tell me one thing. You didn't mention why, what attracted you to Web3. How did you make that switch? When did it happen?
Yeah, probably, I'm being honest, probably before the validator part, there was one specific project that basically came my attention, that it was basically a gaming project, right? It was a specific project that is called Star Atlas. And I was basically browsing through internet, looking at, how to say, ways to, I would say, spare some free time and enjoy, right? I also like a little bit Star Citizen. I don't know if you heard about that game and so on, but I read about this project, right? And yeah, I would say I joined the Discord. I started to learn about that, and then I realized that it was a Solana-based project, right? So basically, they were using Solana as underlay for the transactions, so full Web3 project. Probably Solana was the step after, right? So basically the one that actually attracted my first attention was this specific game, right? But yeah, here I am again in the infrastructure layer.
It's interesting. You mentioned games, and a lot of there is not a lot, maybe a lot is an over exaggeration, but it's definitely an opinion that one of the largest issues in Web3 is usually UX UI, and that's what stops. At least it's an opinion. I'm not saying that that's an indefinite opinion, but it definitely exists. A lot of people, especially that come from gaming, and this is a question to you, say that gaming have it solved a long time ago, UX and UI, and if we just apply the mechanics that we apply in games to the Web3 world, we can get mass adoption. Now, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that that's correct, or do you have a different opinion, or maybe any thoughts at all?
Yeah, I would say that you are right, right? Again, just this is an opinion, like you said, right? Probably it's not even only about gaming, right? But I usually see crypto as an industry as well, and probably because of my background, right? But somehow an IT stack layer where basically crypto is a little bit closer to the infrastructure layer, jumping a little bit more into middleware layer, right? So basically there is a front end layer that it is not there or it is being built, right? So I see it more as a backend product in general for even for the financial industry or for everything, right? And what I believe is that there will be some point in the future that mainstream will be using crypto even they don't know it, right? And I think that that's probably the target, right? And probably the current evolution about all of this, right? So my opinion there is that now the projects are still struggling a little bit about how to link this backend technology with the front end, right? And how to hide some kind of this complexity. But there is an evolution already, right? And you see latest projects about that. Uh, some of these complexities already hidden, and I think this will be a journey, and there will be a moment that, as I was saying, right, there will be a moment that I think that someone will actually play or do whatever they need to do without even realizing that they are actually creating a transaction in the backend, right? So yeah, this is what I think that is going to happen.
I'm gonna go into it a little bit, like at least one more question here, if you don't mind. Do you think that complexities should always be hidden? Like, is that like this is a kind of like a two-way stick, right? Like sometimes we say, okay, let's hide all the complexities on the front end of whatever it is we're doing, and the user has like, this experience where they don't know what they're using. On the other hand, like there is another, I think, club in this club of opinions, right, that we're metaphorically speaking about, that if you don't teach users responsibility, for example, going back to owning your own keys and stuff like that, then they will never care about it. They will never be bothered about it. So a question here, do you think like when we are trying, like in Web3 at least, right, at least in Web3, not necessarily general in UX development, shall we hide as much complexity as possible from the end user, or is there the need to leave like some things for the user to go through their journey and learn responsibility that Web3 brings with it?
Yeah, that's an interesting dilemma, right? I fully agree. But in my opinion, is that not all the products fit for all the personas, right? So I feel that there will be profiles in terms of the products, and for some people they don't care about that, and for some others they definitely do care about this transparency, right? What may happen is that probably this complexity is hidden in first instance, but available at some point, right? So basically, you can actually find even, I don't know, the open source smart contract if you actually want, or the transactions flow for different assets, right? But in terms of front end, maybe this is something that you are not going to see in the first, I would say, view, right? Probably you want to hide it a little bit, but if you actually want to dig for it, it's pretty available, right? So I think that in terms of product design, and this is actually real world, right? When you actually create a product, you need to actually define the target persona, right? And the target persona involves a different set of capabilities in the persona part that is actually, okay, how techy is this person? How familiarized is with an IT system? How familiarized with everything, right? And basically you need to build these products for these specific profiles, right? And if we want to reach mainstream, we need to target different profiles there, right? So basically not all the products are going to reach all the personas, basically.
I totally agree with that. One thing I noticed over the years in crypto and also developing products. I also developed some products in crypto, and I noticed one. And again, I'm sorry. I'm always trying, like to form an opinion, and then I'm going to try to make it into a question. Like continuing on what you said, of course, about target groups. Like I don't know about you, but I've noticed like over the years in crypto for sure that that the target groups in crypto feel a little bit like mixed up. Like, I mean, maybe of course this is a professional bias. Of course, there's no doubt about that, and I understand that what I see is definitely not what other people see, because I've been here like I don't know so many years. But like sometimes like you go for a product, for example, you're creating a game or whatever, or something else, and your target audience, your target groups in crypto. Sometimes when you try to make, like, let's say the passport, in quotations here, of a particular target group, you get suddenly such a mix. You get like developers who are interested in memes, who are at the same time, you know what I mean, and like you start like to try and form a profile of a user, but you end up with something like a mix. I don't know. Have you noticed something like that, or do you think it's more of a professional bias, and we can still in crypto have individual groups with individual targeting, or they're all mixed?
Yeah, I think that in general, and that's that's a very good one, right? But I think in general this is part of the ecosystem, right? This uh, somehow, and sometimes crypto is sold as a product per se, right? Uh, but depends as well how you are actually look at it, right? So I for example see crypto as in terms of the potential, is in terms of the capabilities that it brings, right? So basically there are capabilities that is actually bringing to real world that is just amazing in the way that you can actually transport value from A to B about whatever you actually want, right? Very cheap, very scalable, and very transparent, right? So I think that one of the issues that may have, I mean, I'm not saying issues, right, but one of the, I will say, drawbacks in terms of adoption is to think that that's an actual product, right? And probably that's an actual product for something else that is going to become a product. But I think that the technology itself is an enabler for something to build on top of something great, but to take advantage of these capabilities, right? And I see the products in the same way, right? So when you build a product, I think that you actually need to be clear about what is your target public, right? And I know that there are many philosophical things involved in terms of actually doing what you say, right? In terms of we want to be focused on the decentralization and bring transparency to the user, but I still think that many users, they don't care, right? They just want to play a game, right? And I think that we need to build products to target this kind of people, right? Not to actually sell the backend technology. It's like, a parallels would be, for example, for cloud, right? Cloud has revolutionized a lot, I would say, the infrastructure layer for huge number of companies. But cloud is only sold for the companies that are actually using it, right? The actual people that is using cloud backend, they don't care if it is cloud or not, right? So I see a little bit in the same way.
So I guess the question I'm going to ask here, like to finish off this topic, is because you're talking about different groups, but there are wallets and explorers, for example, which in themselves combine different groups, developers, users, NFT minters, whatever. So do you think that the adoption problem in this case is just because, I don't know, like, let's say a wallet comes out, let's say a group of developers come out and they say, oh, let's make the best wallet for Web3 developers, or let's make the best wallet for, I don't know, NFT minters. And then at the end, usually what happens is that it seems that there is not enough target groups in that group. So, because there is no wallet for every single target group, right? So I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to ask here is that, do you think that at the end, the problem with adoption is that we just need more users? Or do you think that the problem with adoption today is that we don't have the right products for the right type of groups developed? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I probably see the wallet like another component in the middle, which is at the end how you are linking the user to the actual Web3, right? But there might be different interface in terms of that. Maybe I don't know, at some point there will be some kind of embedded wallet. And this is actually happening already, right? There are embedded wallets, for example, in games, right? So they are playing the role of a wallet because it's actually generating a pub key in the background. And this is actually behaving like a wallet, right? So I think that the wallet itself is a software that you can actually interact, right? But there are different ways to actually removing this friction, right? I even remember some games that, in fact, I played one quite recently. I don't know if you played. I don't know if we can say even name of games, but maybe we can, right? But there is one called Off the Grid, right? So basically, this game that is, I know, recently developed, you can actually transfer assets in terms of skins and so on. And you see actually how this is transferred, and this is actually creating a wallet in the background. But from the user's perspective, you are only playing the game, right? So it's a little bit how I see it, right? It's how to hide a little bit this mechanic and only enjoy the value that it brings, right?
I see. I mean, let's see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where all this goes and develops. And I think, it's nice to. I think one of the issues, in my opinion, in crypto products development, is people being stuck. Like people come in 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and the moment where they come in, the technological scene of Web3 or crypto, the availabilities, it was dead, and the belief was whatever it was. And I know this from personal issues, like, where, I would like to think that I'm not like that, but I'm a human, and of course I am like that. But I've seen this many times where people, and myself included, we go into like a certain thing. we see whatever it is, and then after some couple of years, when the technology evolves, people are like, but I'm still stuck in that place, And I think with crypto, it's a bit like that. A lot of people are afraid to move, to develop, but yeah, I think that it's good that we have more and more new people coming in.
Yeah, but I mean, new players are coming in as. Yeah, I was going to say the new players are coming in as well, and probably this is good, right? And different perspectives are already, I would say, joining the crypto space, and that's part of the game. I would say every tech ecosystem involves evolution. Probably we believe some things, and then you realize that the actual market evolves into a different way. But yeah, I guess that we will see, right?
Let's talk a little bit about your validator venture. And the first question that I'm going to ask is probably a bit strange, actually, but I'm going to ask it. So you said you are originally from Galicia, and both Portugal and Spain are, again, I am not very I'm more of an old anarchist, but for the sake of the conversation, and I do understand those things, like Portugal and Spain in terms of the law and in terms of the crypto law are a lot more loyal towards crypto, at least so it seems to the outsider, and I might not be an expert on it for sure. Now in the States, at least definitely Solana had issues before. They were at one point where, like the US people couldn't, like, at least officially use Solana. And, there has been many, 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 many issues, especially around privacy, of course. And anyways, long story short, the question to you, why move the business from like more or less a little bit of a crypto friendly country to US, which is like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So please go. Please comment me on this topic. Like, tell me where I'm wrong and tell me if I'm not wrong, why.
No, probably, I mean, the reason of the move, it was totally different, right? So the reason of the move, it was my actual background and parallel work, right? Which is basically being an IT infrastructure manager at this point, right? And basically now I'm developing this role as well into the US, right? So basically I'm actually working in parallel of my crypto life, right? So this started as a hobby, and now it's becoming like I'm even taking more time, right? But I would say that the reason of the move, it was totally different. It was not related to crypto at all, right? But I agree with you, right? In terms of the laws, I think that the laws are known as well to be not specifically fast and adaptive to new, I would say, technologies and so on. And this is one example more, right? But I think that the laws at some point, they also try to embrace even common sense, right? Even the laws, right? Something that is so strict and so on. There will be a moment that there is no other way that just adapt to it and build a framework for a technology, which is not more than that, right? So it's just very weird to just forbid a technology for so much time, right? So there will be a moment that basically there will be a framework where US, Europe, or whoever will need to actually adapt to, right? So that's my belief, right? And we will see in the next years. But yeah, I think that there is progress, right? Not as fast as we would like, but laws are known as well to be slow, right? But yeah.
Does it, again, I know it's a weird question, and you already said this was not the reason, but still, like kind of like being a bit of, let's philosophize, theorize a little bit. Like, serious question though, like, as a validator, are you not scared where, tomorrow or in a month or in a year, it might go wrong, finally? I mean, right now, we're in November after the election already. This is for the listeners when this episode comes out. And, crypto started going up and Gary Gensler has been fired and everyone is super happy. It's normal. But we all know that it's not like, it's not a yellow brick road, it's not the road to Oz, right? Like something you might wake up tomorrow and something like, that's the question to you. Are you not scared of that? Because we have seen big problems, especially in the court systems in the US regarding crypto. What do you feel about that? Do you even think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did think about that. In fact, I mean, from the actual technology perspective, you can do actually what we want, right? So for example, the validator itself is not in the US, so the servers are spread in different locations. But as legal entity, it is, as you say, right? So basically, it's an entity in the US. But I would like to think that we have the flexibility to actually move in case something happens, right? So, and that's also a nice part of I would say this technology, right? So you are not really attached to a specific region, country, or whatever. You can actually have the flexibility to move it around. Maybe it's actually where you are going to fiscalize it and so on, right? The taxes and so on. But that's paperwork, right? That's something that you can actually move as well. Probably not as fast as moving a server from one place to another, but you can actually do it, right? So there might be issues there at some point, but to be honest, I'm optimistic, right? I think that in terms of uncertainty and these kind of things, it's something that is probably a little bit like based on phases, right? In my opinion, I think that the worst things in terms of uncertainty in terms of loss are gone. That's my view, right? So I think that this should be able to improve. But yeah, the risk is always there, right? But I'm not really scared. As I was saying, if there is really a restriction, we can actually move it around, right?
I think I don't know like what about you, but I definitely believe that at one point a lot of people in crypto, and not a lot of people, but crypto itself has lost its balls in a little bit. Like they're missing some kahunas. And it's nice to see people in crypto that founders, especially of projects, and people who have projects, either service projects, say that they're not scared, because I think it's important. Why Solana, by the way, man? Why Solana, and why only Solana? Like, what was the reason for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I read, I would say, as I was saying, the entry point, it was a Solana project, right? So there was some kind of, I would say, a winning point for Solana in that moment. But after reading about it, in terms of scalability, speed, and so on, and in that specific moment, because I think that at this point there are other chains that are very progressing a lot. I mean, they're progressing a lot in terms of this kind of throughput and so on. But in that specific moment when I started, Solana, it was extremely powerful compared with the competition, right? And thinking how I usually think, right, that this is some kind of envision the future and so on. I was actually foreseeing and envisioning that this can actually become some kind of underlay for very huge use cases, right? So I was seeing that, okay, this can actually scale for a real use case that is actually pushing thousands of transactions and so on, right? So this encouraged me to actually learn about it. And yeah, and so far I'm pretty happy about that step. I think that they are doing a great job, ANSA and Solana Foundation and so on. And the roadmap is impressive, right? So they are very focused on still improving speed, throughput, and as well decentralization and other factors.
Do you think you're gonna add more networks and to your venture?
Actually, I'm working in a project related to the validator as an evolution of the validator. But it's a little bit more closer to the application layer, right? So basically, we are actually working in an asset management platform that basically we hire a few people already, and they are actually developing a platform on top of Solana. I'm linking this to your question because we are starting with Solana, but we are actually aiming to become a multi-chain, at least in that layer, right? Not from the validator perspective. From the validator perspective, we are going to keep, I would say, Solana so far. But from this platform perspective, multi-chain will be, I will say, a second step. First is going to be Solana. And later on, we would like to include as well real-world assets, right? So basically, doesn't matter the nature of the assets, but actually trade with them, right? So that will be the target goal for this specific project.
I've noticed, like, from many angles now and from many people, that they're developing tools similar to, well, it doesn't matter what tool they develop, it includes something like a portfolio tracker. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from what you explained, this is kind of like in the same direction. Why is it like everybody I talk to, everywhere I speak to, it seems that that is the most needed tool today, because literally everyone I speak to is developing a portfolio tracker. Like, seriously, man, it's crazy. You're not gonna believe how many people are doing it. Why? Why is it so important in your opinion?
In my case, I linked it to what I was saying at the beginning, right? That it was a little bit removing friction in terms of user, right? And why is that? Because, for example, the typical person that is today actually using Solana, they are, I would say, more techy in general. They are more adverse in terms of risk, so they don't care about risk. They are just putting, I would say, a lot of money and trading with that. And basically, they are dedicating a lot of time to a specific assets, right? So basically, the specific portfolios that someone has is a little bit trading a lot with the specific assets. The intention for this kind of platform, right, which at the end is a little bit, if you link it to real world, right, like a typical asset management traffic where a platform where you are actually aggregating different backend assets, right, is that you have actually someone to take care of this middle layer in terms of what assets to actually participate based on a specific risk profile, volatility, and so on. So basically some kind of middle layer. But the intention there is that someone that is actually depositing money there, they don't need to actually be so, I would say, up to the specific asset evolution, right? So basically you are delegating a little bit this into someone, right? And that's the intention here, is to build some kind of middle layer with basically this platform that will help in order to, I would say, reduce, I would say, complexity and trading knowledge as well for newcomers.
I've seen several tools in several ecosystems similar to what you described. For example, one it is, and it kind of was, because, well, basically it's very complex analytical explorer that is concentrating a lot on chain analytics metrics for validators. And basically what they do is then they have a DeFi app which automatically helps you to select the sort of, let's say you have, I don't know, 100 ETH or 100 or 10 ETH or 1 Ethereum, doesn't matter, or Solana or Atom, doesn't matter. And basically you would put it in, you would give some permissions, of course, to the wallets, but basically it will select, instead of you selecting the validator, it will select, let's say, 5 or 10 validators, which are at the moment are top performers. And then that kind of like, but I know that it didn't like catch up that much, and I'm curious, do you think that portfolio trackers will gain more attention, because there is a lot of them, right? In sort of, even on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, you see those portfolio trackers. They're very simple, but do you think there will be more demand for them? It will grow because of the multi-chain?
I think there is potential to actually do that. But it's important as well, related to the words that we were saying before, right? I think that is important, but probably not specific for the current people that is actually using the chain, right? So basically, I feel that the current traders that are actually using the chain, probably they are not going to be super benefited by that, because they are actually trading with their own portfolio building and they feel comfortable with that. But for a new potential persona that might join, which is basically, I know, people that they want to deposit money and forget a little bit, expecting to grow, but without actually putting in risks, I would say, that money into a single asset. So that is where I see more potential, right? And if I see and project this into real world, you see that as well into real world, right? So you see that many people is actually, I don't know, buying shares about, I don't know, Apple, right? And others are just, okay, I don't want to put in Apple. I want to put in Nasdaq, right, or a Standard & Poor's. So it's a little bit that idea, right? Why should I risk all my money to a single bet, right, or minimize it a little bit, but expect some return on behalf, right? But depends a lot of the persona, right? I think that the persona here is key, right? And I agree, and probably this is one of the reasons that the existing persona is actually mostly using crypto space. Is not like the super nice product for them, but we will see if for the people that is going to embrace crypto, even they don't know it, is a good product for them.
That's actually a very interesting point. Like, that those things are not for today's users; they're for tomorrow's users. That's something I didn't think I processed enough in my head. Interesting. I want to ask you actually a little bit, again, if you don't mind, this is a kind of a private topic, but talking about the setup of the validator. Again, whatever you don't mind to talk about, feel free. If it's something too private,
Go
feel
for
free
it.
to stop. The question is simple. I'm curious as to, are you currently, I mean, again, with Solana, where the needs for the computation are crazy. I'm assuming that we're talking cloud. Just to talk about your setup, whatever you can talk about. Is it cloud? Is it some your own metal? And anything you want to mention in that direction, of course, that is not too much privacy sensitive.
Yeah, no problem at all. The current setup that we have is a double instance. So basically, we have a hot swap, I will say, instance. So basically, two bare metal servers. One is located in London, right? That's the main location. And the secondary is located in Madrid, right? So basically both are alive, but you actually switch which one you want to keep active, mostly to perform seamless upgrades and maintenances and these kind of things, right? But what we are actually doing is bare metal, right? In Solana, the cloud, even there are cloud providers actually doing that. It's not generally recommended, right? It's better to have your own bare metal for yourself, but in third-party facilities. So basically, someone is actually the one providing this, right? But yeah, this is our current mining setup. Then I have another server as well for testnet, but that's some kind of pre-staging in terms of Solana, right? In terms of helping them to bring stability first and then try out in mainnet. But yeah, that's what we have.
When you say bare metal, because bare metal can refer to two things here. I can go right now on AWS, Hetzner, go to the bare metal section. Well, it's Hetzner, it will be called robot section or whatever. And I will be able to rent a bare metal server. Or there is also, like, I guess, a secondary type of bare metal where I go to a data center. I actually physically either bring or rent a rack or a server or a SWAN server space, and nobody else has access apart from me to that server, but it's still hosted in a data center. Which one are we referring to here?
Here we are referring to one that is providing you, I will say, the physical server, but the backend is not virtualized. So the critical point here is that the backend is not virtualized, meaning that you have a VMware or a Nutanix or whatever. You need an actual physical server for you. Doesn't matter if you are the owner or is someone reselling it, but it's a physical device. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of? I mean, I asked a few Solana validators there, and so far the answer has been no. But I'm gonna keep on trying. I'm not gonna give up. Have you ever heard in Solana of a self-hosted bare metal validator, a validator that doesn't go in a data center, that self-hosts their bare servers, owns them, and runs them?
Yeah, I knew about some. I knew about some that they are actually doing that. It's not common because I would say that there are limitations that you may have, right? You need to have a very nice setup. Am I not saying only about compute? I'm saying even the connectivity lines, right? So when you have a data center, this is, I would say, my background, right? So I work in IT infrastructure layer, so mostly in data centers. You have a lot of things like even the power is redundant, right? So you don't share the same power lines for your data center. Even the connectivity lines that are coming in from the outside, they are not crossing through the same location. They have a total full path diversity, right? So this is what a data center actually offers you, right? It really offers you a a really resilient, I would say, layer in terms of capabilities. And it is hard to actually find this in a house, right? So you can actually try it, right? So I'm not saying that this is not reliable at all, but you need to be very careful about the power lines, that they are redundant. You need to be careful about the connectivity lines and other things that you need to really pay attention, right? But yeah, you can actually do that, right? And probably you can have a main instance in-house and then a backend instance in another place. So there are options, right, to play with that.
I noticed on your website you have a lot of links to performance, to analytical tools of how your validator performed, and that's actually quite cool. But you have like 6 or 7, I think, and I didn't see that it's a thing for all Solana validators. So I guess it's something that you are focused on a lot. And I looked at your Grafana board, for example. It's like super neat and super accurate. So I guess it's something that you are very big on performance metrics, or what's the reason for that?
Yeah, I would say that's the reason. Probably my background again, right? So at the end,
Yes.
I come from that layer in terms of infrastructure, and it was not enough to just power on the validator and start creating blocks, right? So I wanted to really pay attention about what's the role of the validator, try to reducing, I will say, delay and so on. And we are pretty cool positioned in that sense. So I'm very happy about that progress, right? In terms of performance, we are regularly between the first 200, right? And we are actually 1,500, I would say, validators in, well, those are, I think it is around that. And we are very well positioned in that aspect, right? So pretty happy about that. And yeah, you're right. I'm quite obsessed about the performance.
What's your advice here to people who are listening to this and want to start a validator? Maybe not necessarily Solana validator, but any validator in terms of like performance. What to watch out for? What's the thing you suggest?
I would suggest. I mean, I think that in general, many people think as validator as a commodity layer, meaning that hey, it's something that you plug in and it's fine, right? But when you're actually digging a little bit in terms of detail, you realize that it's way more advanced than that, right? There are tweaks that you can actually do to increase the performance. There are tweaks in terms of the Linux to actually do that. There are ways to actually isolate in Linux that one specific core is actually dedicating one specific progress or Solana to actually increase the performance. Man, there are many ways to actually improve the performance, right? And what I would suggest is that when you are actually creating and deploying a validator, keep evolving, right? Because it's not just one action; it's an evolution, and you really see that the actual code of Solana and any other chain is evolving, right? And you need to evolve with that, right? I don't know, for example, now in Solana, we are going to have as well Fired Answer, right? Which is another client that is going to increase heavily, I would say, the performance. So we need to pay attention to that, right? How can I actually bring this performance into the network, right? How to keep the decentralization as well, right? For example, we have these 2 nodes in different 2 countries, right? So how to actually keep improving all the layers, because it's just not power on and forget about it, right? And I know that many people is actually doing that, but yeah, that will be my recommendation, to actually keep researching, keep digging, and keep improving until not until anything, right? It's keep improving at every moment, right?
Keep improving till the node crashes. No, I'm joking, but I totally agree. It's like, man, I think it's the worst thing. Like, as also a validator, I think it's one of the worst things that I've done to myself is, running validators and then thinking, okay, well, I understand, and forgetting for 2 years and coming back. The industry has changed and you are still like in that mode of, I know everything. No, you don't, because the industry has changed. And if you don't follow it up, and if you don't follow the latest security practice, you're just going to, and I totally
100%.
agree. It's a great advice. Oscar, I'm gonna jump with you. Well, actually, no. Let me ask you actually one last question before we jump into the Blitz. The question is quite easy, I guess, because but it's interesting because we don't get many validators on the show who work only with one specific project. There is a few, but there isn't that many. So, and the question I want to ask is about community, because you are kind of focused on one single community. Was it like it's 2 or 3 questions together, but it's all about the community. So like, I guess the first part of it is how easy or hard it is for you, because usually for validators it's very difficult to develop a community. And since again you're focused on one blockchain, is it easier? Does it make it easier, or is it still as hard? That's the first part. And second part, in general, like, what are your, again, advice, something to do or maybe not to do as a validator in order to attract a community to your validator?
Yeah, I think in fact the community topic is quite hard, I would say. So it's very hard. Mostly when you don't have, when you're an independent validator, right? Which basically validator is your main, I would say, product. It's quite hard to actually sell the differential factor, right? So what you are providing that someone else is not providing, right? And you realize actually that someone, I will say, that is actually building a product on top. It's easy for them to actually attract a stake, because the branding of the product is actually, I will say, printing this branding as well in the validator, right? So I will say that in general, it's quite hard to attract a stake, and that's why it's very, very important for us, the independent validators, to be involved with the stake pools, right? So basically, they are the ones that actually have a big pool of a stake, and you try to stay up to fulfill the bear marks, right, and try to get that stake. But in terms of community, to actually bring, I will say, that is very hard, right? And that's one of the reasons as well that we wanted to improve, right? So it's basically, okay, we have this super validator that is nice, okay, but what else, right? And that's as well why we are evolving, right? We want to do something else, bring value as well in terms of a new product. But yeah, don't forget that we are a validator, and that validator is going to be there in order to keep, I would say, creating blocks, right?
Makes sense. I'm gonna ask you now 3 questions. They're gonna be like to take us out of the conversation, to lower us back down on Earth. I guess they're gonna be a bit weird, but there we go. So first one, Oscar, give me or one movie or one book or one song that has a positive influence on you throughout your life.
Oh, positive influence. I was going to say Matrix. I don't know. Matrix was the first one that I remember. Also because I don't know. Matrix is amazing. No one can tell me that it is not, right?
No.
But yeah, why not, right? So, and in terms of how in terms of the influence, probably I'm going to say, because it's some kind of parallel world in terms of Matrix, right? And this is the world that I'm actually living a little bit, right? So I'm going to try to be Neo here, right?
Nice.
If I'm not, right? But yeah.
I always joke that when people talk about reality and parallels, I always ask them if they've seen a documentary from the end of the 90s called The Matrix, and people go, "Really? There was a documentary?" And I say, "Yeah, it came out in 1999." And I go, "Really? Like, I didn't see it." I say, "Are you sure? It's not this documentary. It like goes for a few hours, from the Wachowski brothers." And they go, "There was a movie." I said, "No, there was a documentary. You just didn't get it." But yeah. Second question. Give me something motivational that helps Oscar, keep on working in not just in Web3, but also in IT in parallel, and keeping running a validator and trying to build products, and something motivational that keeps you out of bed every day.
That's a good one. Well, in my case, I'm trying to do sport quite frequently in order to, I would say, disconnect a little bit. I have to say that I'm a super fan of Real Madrid, right? So at the end, I'm a Spaniard and we love soccer and football, right? So that's one of the things, right? And of course, family, right? Of course, my wife and so on is something that, she pushes me every day in order to keep going and fulfill my dreams. So yeah, those two are the ones that I'm going to say here.
Nice. Okay, last one. I promise this is a bit of a weird one. So, dead or alive, a real character or a made-up character or a real persona, doesn't matter. It could be a developer, a writer, a cartoon character, a comics character, a person you know. Not a guru, but somebody who, when you feel stuck in your life, you kind of like thinking about this person helps you to move on, helps you to make the next step, and kind of like be positive.
Interesting one. So I'm going to say here, and probably something, it's someone that it helped me a little bit to envision this kind of topic that I was saying at the beginning in terms of persona, how to build a product and so on. I'm going to say here Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Because how he thought about that, and he really understood what a product is, and I usually wonder what Steve will actually do in some of my actual, I would say, visions, right? So now we will see if that's actually accurate or not. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting, I would say, point of reference.
I definitely agree with you. It is. Oscar, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to answer the questions. This is just a goodbye for the listeners. Please don't hang up. But for everybody else who tuned in and listened to us, we will see you or hear you, whatever's the right word here, next week. And thank you very much. And Oscar, thank you too.
Thanks, and thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This content was created by the Citizen Web3 Validator. If you enjoyed it, please support us by delegating on citizenweb3.com/staking and help us create more educational content.